Just about a week ago, December 23rd, I had a chance to speak with Cory Brandolini, the CEO of the Canadian AI company Railtown AI. It trades in Canada under the ticker symbol RAIL, and here in the US on the OTC markets under the ticker RLAIF. I do have a long position in this company, and I've been on vacation for the past week. I sent out a tweet on the 23rd, and I wanted to do a follow-up video expanding a little bit more on the bullet points I shared last week. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about my chat with Mr. Brandolini about Railtown, or just about speculative AI companies, one like Railtown, which is really exciting as it is about to transition from a pre-revenue state to a actual revenue state, stick around for a couple minutes. We're going to go through the latest DD, the end of year wrap up, and what exactly my takeaway was after talking with Cory for about 90 minutes last week. Before we get into my chat with Cory, let's kind of do a quick recap of the last 6 or 7 months, the timeline of my due diligence coverage of Railtown, how I started out a little bit skeptical about this company, but the more I dug into it, the more I liked it, and I eventually went long. All of those videos are still up on my channel in the OTC playlist, and all of my tweets about Railtown are also available for you to peruse. And the reason I want to cover this timeline, and the reason that I mentioned that all of the content is still there, is there are people that lie to you guys, lie to you every single day that I'm short on the stock or that I want you to sell. I've never one time told anybody to buy Railtown. I've also never told anybody to sell Railtown. We've done a very reasonable, rational, fair analysis of the company, and I've shared with you guys my due diligence process, how I go through risk assessment, and I even provided you some TA charts many months ago in the middle of the year talking about where a pivot point up for Railtown could happen. And in fact, that pivot point up did happen. So let's go through this timeline and just take a minute. I'm sorry to bother you with this, but there are literally people lying to you guys every single day. And it's time that we address this head on and dismantle the nonsense from people who have a problem with the truth. One thing that I've learned in the many years of doing YouTube is there are many people that watch videos like this, channels like this, get information on a ticker, but do no real risk assessment of their own. They just pile money in based on what anyone on social media says. And it may seem to some of you at times that I go overboard talking about risk assessment or risk management. Please understand that's not ever because I'm trying to talk you in or out of a stock. It's just to remind you that that is a core thing that you should be doing as an investor, making sure that you're properly analyzing all the risks. I know it's a pain in the butt, but I'm going to continue being the guy to remind you how a real investor analyzes speculative trades. Very quickly, let's talk about my coverage of Railtown. June 3rd, I began coverage in the Discord for my Discord members. My first social media post on Railtown was on June 23rd, where I posted a chart and let you know where the supply and demand zones as I saw them were on Railtown, and that if it broke above that supply zone, that the stock could have a bullish run. And in fact, it did break above that supply zone only days later, and the stock went 2x on that run up. A fantastic move for sharp traders, anybody who took profits up there. I know some of y'all are still holding the stock even though it has come back down. I did not give any buy or sell advice about what you should do in the run up. I did do a follow-up post in the beginning of July on the 8th, letting you know that if there is resistance at this level, that caution is warranted if it rejects. And unfortunately, reject it did. Around the same time, on July 6th, I posted my very first YouTube video talking about Railtown and discussing my thoughts on risk assessment of this company and of this trade. July 15th, the stock peaked at 68 cents after a 2x run up. And hopefully some of you guys were able to lock in some profits because we're trading down now at 27 cents. And this is the zone where I've been doing my most purchases of Railtown over the past several weeks. I really like the stock where it's at in its current demand zone. You'll notice on that timeline in my tweets and in my videos, if you watch them, at no point have I ever told anybody to sell Railtown. We've also never talked about selling Railtown in my Discord. And I'm going to continue to say there are people on social media who are lying to you guys every single day about what I'm doing. And I really got to question what is going on in some of these people's head and why they feel the need to fib to you every single day. It's not as if I've never had conversations with these people. I don't sell companies short. I provide reasonable analysis on speculative plays. I love speculative plays. It's where you get asymmetric returns, but you better understand the risk and you better make sure you have a good entry. And if the timing is right for you, I'm not going to give you instructions, but when the timing is right, lock in those profits. If you guys are in my Discord, you know that one of our favorite phrases is always be taking profits, but let a little bit run. If the DD says, let it run. The most important takeaway though is you are in control of when to buy or sell any stock. You are the one pushing the buttons. You must own the outcomes. And all of us here on social media are just sharing our opinions. I never provide buy or sell advice. I'll talk about what I see on the chart, what I like or don't like about a company's financials or filings. All of that is part of the due diligence, and discussion should be encouraged. And when you run across these people on social media who are lying to you about others, telling you they work for the shorts or they want you to sell, I really want you guys to question the motivations of people who feel the need to compulsively lie on a daily basis, especially when I've had conversations with them. And the tweet was up there just a minute ago if you want to go back and look at that evidence again. I am happy to have a conversation with anybody at any time about how I get compensated. I don't. I'm a trader just like you, and I want to see you succeed just like I want to see myself succeed. I want to see everybody succeed. And at the same time, you must understand the risks. And there's just not enough people looking at risk assessment, in my opinion. So that is a core philosophy that we hit on frequently in every ticker. It's nothing specific to Railtown. Railtown is a speculative AI company, a speculative ticker. Why do I call it speculative? Because they are still pre-revenue. But why am I long Railtown? Because they are about to go from pre-revenue to actual revenue. And there is still timeline risk, execution risk. We don't know what the revenue is going to be. There's a lot of uncertainty. So I can't talk to you guys about guarantees of price levels or timing of anything because everything is unknown. And if you enjoy tuning into other channels where they guess and make up numbers, then I have no problem with that. But I will not do that on this channel. I try and keep my analysis as fact-based as possible. And if I am speculating on revenues or price targets, I'm always going to be very conservative because that is how I'm actually doing it for me. And I'm here sharing my analysis for my trades with you. If you like it, awesome. If you don't like it, don't watch. I know that was a long preamble for those of you that just wanted to hear how did my conversation with CEO Corey Brandolini go. Let's talk about that chat that I had with Corey on December 23rd. I found out a couple of things from Corey, and we both have a long background in the tech field. He has been more software. For me, myself, I spent 15 years at a Fortune 100 company doing product development, but on the hardware side. But I had software people on my team, software and bias, both, in addition to hardware engineers that worked for me. So we have that shared technology background, Corey and I. I don't claim to be an AI expert, but this has been a great ticker to level up my understanding of AI, and I appreciate Corey taking 90 minutes to fill in some of the gaps that I had in my understanding about what has happened and what is about to happen in AI and with Railtown and TELUS. So let's go through the 6 bullet points that I have here, because this really distills a 90-minute conversation down into a couple of prescient points that I wanted to convey to you. And I wanted to convey it to you in my own words, not have you guys listen to, like you've been subject to for the last week, somebody completely misinterpreting everything on here, spinning a completely deceitful explanation and lying to you. It's just infuriating that people feel the need to do that when I speak very plainly and I mean what I say. So allow me a minute now to talk you through my 6 bullet points. My first bullet point for Railtown is the same as we cover pretty much on every ticker. Buy when it's cheap. That's what I like to do. That's what I will encourage you to do. Avoid the temptation to buy into FOMO run-ups. Buy on news or buy when it's cheap ahead of news. And when I say that you are early on Railtown, look, I don't expect any revenues to come out of the AIP TELUS partnership until the middle of next year. Might be the first time that we get eyeballs on that. You know, Corey can't talk to me about any specifics, but I am not under the impression that we're going to get immediate revenues. And therefore, in my message, I'm trying to convey to you that you must understand the timeline so that you have the right amount of patience. You don't get burnt out by people pushing hopium, hype, false dates, false price targets. If you want to survive these speculative trades, you got to be patient. You got to understand the DD, and you must have a inexpensive entry so that you can weather it out. If things go as planned, the payout eventually comes to those who got the best entry and had the right level of understanding the timeline, the right amount of patience. Sometimes you just can't rush these things. The second bullet point, I say that if you believe in AI, this Railtown is an interesting speculative bet on a sovereign Canadian AI play as part of your hopefully well-diversified portfolio. Now, allow me to break that down because that's a bullet point and it deserves an explanation. If you believe in AI, look, not everybody believes in AI, or some people believe AI is well overpriced and due for a correction. So I'm not trying to pump or promote you into this stock. But if you believe in AI and you think it's the future, like I do, then this might be a ticker that you should be paying attention to. It's not for everybody. And that's what I mean by if you believe in it. If you don't believe in AI, stick with what you know. As far as what do I mean about a well-diversified portfolio? Look, I cover a lot of the retail tickers, but without exception, every retail ticker is a speculative bet. They usually have no revenue. They have negative revenue. They have upside down balance sheets. They all have many things wrong with them. At my core, I am a value investor. I invest, and I want you to consider investing in well-known, well-regarded, well-reviewed companies with a long history of growing revenues, profits, and growing profits, growing earnings, a real value portfolio. That is a well-diversified portfolio. Now, that might not be for you, and that's fine, but I'm explaining my bullet point. What do I mean when I say a well-diversified portfolio? That is exactly what I mean. That is how I like to set up my portfolio. And then I allocate the mad money to the speculative trades. For myself, I do not, and for anybody that's watching me, I do not recommend making your entire portfolio one speculative bet. Although, if you are correct, it could have an asymmetric payout. If you are incorrect, it could completely wipe you out because you have put all of your risk in one highly speculative stock. And if there's one thing that I don't want to see is I don't want to see you lose all of your money on one trade. My third bullet point is about the management team. And I didn't spend my first video looking into or talking about the management team, but as I dug into this company and as I dug into the management team at Railtown and the company that they were acquiring, that deal is now done, AIP Partnerships, I looked at the management team over there and I was actually very impressed with both management teams. And now we have TELUS on board the Railtown train as well. TELUS being one of the largest telecommunications and technology companies in Canada. We got 3 really good companies here. Now, Railtown still has to prove itself through execution, but I think for the patient, if we are lucky, that we will see some results at some point next year. More importantly, the management team at Railtown, as I say in this bullet point, has a proven track record of developing companies to successful exits by selling them to larger companies. And I don't know what the timing on that is going to be. I don't think it's going to be necessarily quick, like next year. It might be 2 years out. I don't know. But I'm not going to give you any short-term dates and say, expect a buyout at $55 in 5 months. That seems a little bit ridiculous to me. I'm going to plan my trading strategy around Railtown a lot more realistically and a lot more reasonably than maybe some of you are prepared to listen to. And if you don't like reasonable analysis, hey, I'm sure there's someone else you can go listen to for the pump of the day. The 4th and 5th bullet points are very important, and I appreciate Corey helping fill in the gaps, like I said, on these bullet points. The core products of Railtown are both now commercialized and scalable, with scalable being the key word. You want the ability to grow the company rapidly once adoption begins. And the 5th bullet point, the TELUS partnership is in place for potential future revenue. And one thing that I learned is that the TELUS partnership has been in development longer than the AIP partnership was in development. That's how critical it was or is going to be to the future success of Railtown. And now not only do they have the AIP merger complete, the next bullet point, the strategic merger with AIP complete, they've got the TELUS partnership in place, and that is really what's going to start ringing the cash register of revenue for Railtown in 2026. If everything goes according to plan. The final bullet point is written very plainly, and it should be interpreted exactly how I have it written. So allow me a minute to walk you through it. I said, so now, patience. If you think in terms of 2 years, you will be in the right frame of mind to allow things to develop along their natural course. At no point in that bullet point do I say it's going to take 2 years. But I want your frame of mind to be thinking 2 years so that you have the patience to allow things to develop along whatever the course, whatever the timeline may be. Maybe the timeline is 3 months. Maybe the timeline to revenue is 6 months. Maybe it's 9 months. But if you have a 2-year frame of mind, you're going to have enough patience to see this through. At no point in that bullet point am I telling you it's going to take 2 years for this trade to pay off. I think that we're going to see revenue from Railtown at some point in 2026. The only thing that none of us know is what is that revenue amount going to be? And what happens with this trade, where does it go from here, is going to be dependent on those revenue numbers and how does the market interpret them, and what is the macro environment? What is going on with AI at the time that Railtown is pushing this revenue news out? With speculative stocks, there are never any guarantees. I don't offer you any guarantees. I am long the stock. I've been buying here down in this range that you see on the chart in the low 20s when I can get it, 24, 25, 26. It could go lower. If we're looking at the chart, I see the recent low back in May was 22 cents. We could retest that. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me as long as nothing changes negatively in the news coming from the company. I'm looking for positive news going forward over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And should there be any negative news, well, we will cross that bridge when we come to it. And that is part of the deal when you're gambling in a speculative stock. You never know what you got till you get the data, till you get the numbers, till you get the filings in the financials. So we're kind of rolling the dice here. Hopefully we have done the proper amount of due diligence and the company management executes according to the plan that they have in place. And we will all find out together, my friends. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them for me down below. I always love to hear from you guys. Just make sure that you're able to communicate like an adult. I have no problem blocking people who communicate like children. I have no time for that. If you want to learn, if you want to speculate, if you like value stocks, if you like locking in profits and avoiding losses, I'd love to have you as a regular viewer. Hit the subscribe button if this is your first time here. And I look forward to having a prosperous 2026 with each and every one of you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.